Hi guys, so now that we have seen the theory behind on how things work, let's quickly get started with our code. So let's quickly open our application which is on Sublime, and let's go here. Let's quickly first create some folder structure. So let's say I create a folder called as actions, so that actions can sit in there. I will create another folder called as reducers, so the reducers can sit over there. Okay. So the first thing let's do is let's create an action. So let's create a new file called as index.js. Now I will tell you, as things get complicated, you have different approaches on how you do things, but let's start with just index.js for now. So let's say index.js stored in actions. Similarly, let's create an index.js in the reducers too. So new file index.js. Okay, so now all we did was we created two folders, actions and reducers, and we created two empty files, index.js here and index.js here in the actions as well as in the reducers. So the way we can do it, the way we start coding our action is first is we do an export of a constant, and then we start putting in the names of our constant. So let's say in our case increment number, that's going to be one of the constants, and the value is of course going to be a constant, so inc number, and that's your increment number. So that's all you need to do is export your increment number action. So once that is done, let's quickly go ahead and create a function. Now again, you also need to export this function so that it's available when you are using the actions in your file. So let's make sure we do that too. Once the function is exported, let's name the function as increment number, and here in the parameters you can give the number or the input that you're expecting. So let's say in our case we are giving a number, and it is nothing but your state. As you saw, there was an autofill that came up that gives you your number. So let's put the number, let's go inside the function, and let's start writing our logic. And the logic is very straightforward. All we are going to do is create constant action is equals to, here we will give type as your constant that you created, which is inc number, and the number will be number. Now you can do this number as number, but then ES6 gives us a very good approach where you can just give the number and it will be the same as the variable. So we will just give the number. Let's save this file. So that's your index.js. Now you have exported two things. One is increment number action, and one is a function called increment number, which exposes a constant called as action and increment number and a number. And then of course the constant is useless if you're not using it, so we need to make sure that we do a return of action. So every time this function will be called, it will return an action. Let's save this file. Now let's quickly write our reducer. So let me open the reducer index.js. Oh, this was the reducer index that I wrote it in. So let me just cut this, save this, go back to actions.js, index.js, and paste it here. So again, everything that we coded for the action should go in the action index.js. Similarly, when you go to the index.js for reducers, you will write your reducer code. So the first thing that we are going to do is import your constant that you exposed, which was increment number, from actions. Let me expand this so you can see it much better. Let's do Control K, Control B. So in the actions file, there was an index.js, and that exports the increment number. So if you go to the reducer, you need to make sure you import from the right actions, and it is sitting in the actions folder. So you just do an actions folder, and I think it's index.js, so it should be fine. You should be able to get the constant. Now once you do that, the next thing that you're going to do is write a function. Let's say perform action. And this will take in two things. One is the state, and second is the action. Okay. And then let's go inside and start writing our perform action function. Now out here, the action will always hold the type. So if you recollect in index.js, this action is returned, and this action returns a type. So you can check with a switch case statement that which action that was returned to the reducers. Now again, I will tell you the importance of this switch statement more when we do the decrement function, but let's quickly write that for now. So switch case, and the case will be action dot type. So whatever we need to pass in, that will be the type. And if the case is increment number, something has to be done about it. So let's go inside, and whenever it is number, something will happen here. So for now, let's just do a console.log and say action performed from the reducer. Okay, we can also do one thing, is we can print the console.log, the state and the action, so that we get a better idea of what we are getting here. And then again, we have to return something. So let's say we return a number, and what that number is, let's call this number as a 0. So let number is equals to 0. Let's just do the default number that we have and let's return it. Okay, so that's your case, and of course there has to be a default case for you to work with. Let's say number equals to 0, return number. So that's your reducer.js as well as your actions. So we wrote two things in this particular video. One was our actions and one was our reducer. Now, if you have any questions around how the action or what we wrote in the action versus what we wrote in the reducer, let me know in the Q&A section or in the comments below, and I'll be very happy to help you. I'll see you in the next class.